On a small Caribbean island, a man was born who would forever change the way we understand reality. This man was Neville Goddard. Born in 1905 in Barbados, Neville grew up in a simple environment, but from an early age his mind yearned for something more, something beyond the physical boundaries of his small hometown. Imagine a young Neville walking through the streets of Bridgetown, the capital of Barbados. His curiosity was insatiable. While his friends played on the sunny beaches, Neville spent hours in the library diving into books on philosophy, religion, and mysticism. He was a seeker, someone who felt there was a hidden secret in life, a secret that few knew. This quest for knowledge led Neville to London, where he dedicated himself to the study of theatre. Amid the lights and shadows of the stage, he learned about human nature, about how emotions and thoughts can be expressed, and, most importantly, about the power of imagination. But it was during one of these performances that Neville had an encounter that would change the course of his life. It was an ordinary night in New York, when he met an Ethiopian man named Abdullah at the insistence of a friend, a mystic and scholar of ancient scriptures. Abdullah saw something special in Neville, something even Neville himself didn't know he had. Abdullah taught Neville about the power of imagination and how it shapes reality. He explained that everything we experience in the external world is a projection of our internal world. Abdullah's words were simple, but carried a depth that resonated with Neville's heart. "You are God in action," he would say, "and your imagination is the channel through which you create your reality." For Neville, these words were both revolutionary and frightening. He spent sleepless nights reflecting on Abdullah's teachings, practicing the mental exercises he had been taught. Gradually, he began to see subtle changes in his life. Coincidences that would have previously gone unnoticed were now seen as evidence of the power of his imagination. And so began the transformation of Neville Goddard, from a young actor to one of the greatest mystics of the 20th century. What he would learn and teach in the following years would inspire thousands of people around the world, revealing that the true secret of God was closer than anyone could have imagined. Neville Goddard was just beginning to unravel the secrets that Abdullah had revealed to him. But what truly transformed Neville's life was the practical application of these teachings. He learned that it was not enough to intellectually understand. It was necessary to live, to experience firsthand the power of imagination. After months of intensive study with Abdullah, learning Hebrew, Kabbalah, and the secret meanings of the scriptures, Neville returned to the United States with a new mission: to share with the world the secrets he had learned. But he knew it would not be easy. How to explain to ordinary people that they had the power to change their lives through the simple practice of imagination? Neville decided to start with a small group of friends and acquaintances. He invited them to meetings at his home, where he shared the fundamental principles he had learned. With a calm and assured voice, he would say, "Imagination creates reality." It was a simple concept, but for many it was revolutionary. Neville taught that by vividly and repeatedly imagining what we desire as if it were already reality, we can bring these desires into the physical world. One of the first success stories was of a woman who wanted a new job. She was discouraged and hopeless, but Neville guided her through an imagination exercise. He instructed her to visualize herself sitting at an office desk, feeling the satisfaction of having her dream job. She was to do this every night before sleeping, deeply feeling the emotion of having already achieved her goal. After a few weeks, the woman received an unexpected call from a company where she had applied months earlier. She was called in for an interview and within days received a job offer. To her, it felt like a miracle, but to Neville it was simply confirmation of the power of imagination in action. Neville also shared his own experiences. He spoke about a period in his life when, despite all evidence to the contrary, he decided to visualize himself as a successful writer. At first it seemed like an impossible fantasy, but he persisted. Night after night he saw himself in his mind, sitting in front of a typewriter, creating works that would touch people's hearts. And slowly, this vision became reality. His writings began to gain recognition, and soon he was being invited to give lectures and seminars. People from all over came to hear Neville speak, captivated by the simplicity and depth of his teachings. He became a beacon of hope for those seeking something more in life. But not everyone easily accepted these concepts. There were skeptics and critics who found it hard to believe that simple imagination could change reality. However, Neville was never shaken. He knew that the truth needs no defense, only practice. One of his most profound concepts was living in the end. He taught that by imagining the desired end with all its details, as if it had already happened, we are planting the seeds for that end to manifest in the physical world. This practice requires faith and perseverance, but the results speak for themselves. Neville also challenged his followers to see themselves as already possessing what they desired. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, he would say. Feel it as real as if it were already true. This shift in perspective was crucial to the process of manifestation. What Neville was teaching was not just a technique, but a new way of seeing the world and each person's role in it. He showed that we are all co-creators of our reality, and that the power to transform our lives is indeed within us. Neville Goddard did not just talk about the power of imagination, he demonstrated it through real stories and extraordinary transformations. People from all walks of life began to experience incredible changes by applying his teachings. Let's explore some of these stories that prove the power of imagination is more than a theory. It's a lived reality. One of the most notable stories is that of a young man named David. David was at a low point in his life. Unemployed and living in a small apartment, he struggled to make ends meet. One night, in desperation, he remembered a seminar by Neville that he had attended years before. Determined to try something new, he began practicing Neville's technique. David followed Neville's advice and started visualizing every night before bed. He saw himself in a job he loved, receiving a salary that provided comfort and security. He not only saw this image, but also allowed himself to feel the joy and satisfaction of already being in that position. Weeks passed, and nothing seemed to change at first. But David persisted. Then something surprising happened. An old friend, whom David hadn't seen in years, contacted him. He was starting a new company and needed someone trustworthy to lead an important project. David was invited for an interview and within days had a job exactly like the one he had visualized. This experience reinforced David's belief in the power of imagination, and he became a devoted follower of Neville's teachings. Another story is that of a woman named Laura. Laura always dreamed of owning her own home, but with a low-paying job and little savings, it seemed like a distant dream. At one of Neville's lectures, she heard about the power of living in the end and decided to try. She began to imagine herself living in her dream house, feeling the sensation of walking through the rooms, decorating each space with love and joy. Months later, Laura came across a house for sale that seemed to come directly from her visualizations. Without much thought, she decided to visit the house. The owner, upon meeting her and hearing her story, felt a special connection and offered extremely favorable payment conditions. Against all odds, Laura managed to buy the house of her dreams. For her, the house was more than just a property. It was a living testament to the power of imagination. Neville also had his own story of transformation that he often shared. At a critical point in his life, he was separated from his family and living in New York, without money to travel back to Barbados. Abdullah, his mentor, told him to imagine himself in Barbados, to feel the smell of the sea, the warmth of the tropical sun, and the joy of being with his family. Without knowing how this could happen, Neville followed the advice. He did this every night until one day he received a letter from a brother offering him a ship ticket to Barbados without Neville having asked for it. He returned to his homeland exactly as he had visualized. This personal experience solidified Neville's certainty that imagination, when used correctly, is the key to manifesting our deepest desires. These stories are just a few of the many that illustrate the impact of Neville Goddard's teachings. They show that no matter how difficult or impossible a situation may seem, the power of the mind can transform any reality. But these results are not the fruit of a magic wand. They require dedication, practice, and above all, an unwavering faith in the ability to create our reality through imagination. Neville Goddard developed a series of principles and techniques that formed the basis of his teachings. These principles were simple but powerful, and when applied with faith and perseverance, they could transform lives. The first and most fundamental principle is that imagination creates reality. For Neville, imagination was not just a creative tool, but the true essence of creation. He believed that everything that exists in the physical world is a manifestation of human imagination. Everything you can imagine, you can create, he would say. But how does this work in practice? Neville taught that to transform desires into reality, it was essential to live in the end. This means imagining, with all possible details, the desired final state as if it were already real. For example, if you want a new job, it is not enough to think about how nice it would be to have that job. You must imagine yourself already working in it, feeling the joy and satisfaction of being in that new role. A powerful technique that Neville recommended was visualization before sleep, known as the state akin to sleep. This state of deep relaxation, between waking and sleeping, is the perfect time for mental impressions. During this state, the mind is more susceptible to suggestions, making the visualization of desires as if they were already reality more effective. Neville instructed his followers to repeat this process every night, truly feeling the experience of the wish fulfilled. Another essential principle is assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. This involves vividly and intensely feeling the emotion you would have if your desire were already reality. It is an exercise of faith, as you must feel this emotion before any external evidence confirms the realization of the desire. Neville believed that these emotions acted as a magnetic force, attracting the necessary circumstances and events to manifest the desire in the physical world. Neville also spoke about the importance of faith. For him, faith was not just a vague belief, but a deep and unshakable conviction that the desire is already fulfilled. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, he frequently quoted from the Bible. This faith is the fuel that powers the creative process, allowing imagination to become reality. He emphasized the necessity of living in accordance with the desired new reality. This means acting and making decisions as if the desire were already a consummated fact. This attitude is not a denial of the current reality, but a way to align your actions and thoughts with the new reality you wish to create. Neville also addressed the importance of forgiveness and self-acceptance. He believed that negative feelings such as guilt, anger, and resentment could block the manifestation of desires. Forgiving oneself and others, and fully accepting oneself, were crucial steps to unleash the creative power of imagination. Let's illustrate these principles with another story. Michael was a man who desperately wanted to improve his deteriorating health. He was skeptical about Neville's teachings, but decided to try, having nothing to lose. Michael began to imagine himself as a healthy and energetic person. Every night he visualized himself running, playing sports, and feeling vibrant and strong. He also started to act like a healthy person, making choices that a healthy individual would make, even though his body was still weak. Michael adopted a balanced diet, began doing light exercises, and maintained a positive attitude. Gradually, he noticed improvements in his physical condition. Within a few months, his health had significantly improved, surprising even his doctors. Michael knew it was not just a medical miracle, but the result of the power of his imagination in action. Now that we understand the fundamental principles of Neville Goddard's teachings, let's explore some specific techniques he developed to help people manifest their desires. These techniques are practical tools you can use to transform your life. The first technique is visualization. Visualization is more than simply seeing an image in your mind. It is feeling and experiencing the desired reality with all your senses. Neville recommended finding a quiet place where you would not be interrupted. Close your eyes and start imagining the desired scene as if it were really happening now. If you desire a new house, Imagine yourself walking through the rooms, touching the walls, feeling the texture of the furniture, and even smelling the house. The more details you can include, the more powerful the visualization will be. The second technique is the nightly revision. Before going to sleep, review your day in your mind. Recreate the events of the day, but this time, imagine them the way you would have liked them to happen. If something went wrong, rewrite the scene in your mind so that everything went perfectly. This practice helps to clear the mind of negative impressions and prepares the subconscious to manifest better experiences in the future. Another powerful technique is the assumption of the state. This involves assuming the state of being or feeling as if your desire is already a reality. For example, if you wish to be more confident, begin to act and think like a confident person. Adopt the posture, tone of voice, and behaviors of someone who already possesses that confidence. Neville taught that by living in the state of the wish fulfilled, you are sending a clear message to the universe about what you wish to manifest. Neville also spoke about the technique of directed imagination. This technique involves repeating a short and specific scene in your mind several times until it becomes second nature. For instance, if you want a salary increase, imagine your boss praising your work and informing you about the raise. Repeat this scene repeatedly until it becomes vivid and real to you. Another essential practice is the manifestation journal. Keeping a journal where you write about your desires as if they are already reality can be a powerful tool. Write in the present tense, detailing your experiences and feelings about the fulfillment of your desires. This helps to strengthen the emotional connection with your goal and makes the visualization more effective. These techniques are practical and accessible to everyone. With dedication and faith, anyone can apply them to manifest desires and transform their lives. But Neville always emphasized that the key is persistence. It is necessary to practice these techniques regularly and with a genuine conviction that the desire is already fulfilled. Transformation does not happen overnight, but with patience and practice, the results can be surprising. Neville Goddard, with his revolutionary teachings on imagination and reality, left a lasting legacy that continued to inspire and transform lives even after his death in 1972. His influence spread across the world, touching the lives of people of all ages and backgrounds. In the years following his death, Neville's books and lectures continued to be rediscovered by a new generation of spiritual seekers. Many encountered his teachings during moments of personal crisis, finding renewed hope and a new way of seeing the world in them. The idea that imagination creates reality resonated deeply in an era where people were increasingly searching for meaning and purpose. The rise of the internet played a crucial role in disseminating Neville's teachings. Forums, blogs, and social media became spaces where followers could share their experiences and successes, creating a global community of support and mutual learning. Videos of Neville's old lectures began to appear on YouTube, reaching millions of views and introducing his concepts to an even broader audience. One of the most significant moments was the publication of the book The Power of Awareness in digital format. This book, along with others by Neville, was translated into several languages, allowing people around the world to access and practice his teachings. Stories of transformation and manifestation began to emerge from all parts of the globe, showing that Neville's techniques were not limited by cultural or linguistic boundaries. The self-help and personal development community also embraced Neville's teachings. Renowned authors and speakers such as Wayne Dyer and Tony Robbins frequently mentioned Neville as a significant influence on their work. They recognized that Neville's principles about imagination and the creation of reality were fundamental to any process of personal growth. Neville's influence can also be seen in the growing popularity of mindfulness and meditation practices. Although these practices have ancient roots, many modern practitioners incorporate Neville's principles, using meditation as a tool to visualize and manifest desires. The practice of state akin to sleep has become a common technique in meditation circles, helping people access deep states of relaxation and creative imagination. Today, Neville's teachings continue to find new advocates. Study groups, workshops, and seminars dedicated to his work are held regularly, both in person and online. These events attract a new generation of spiritual seekers, curious and eager to explore the unlimited potential of imagination. The question that remains is, what makes Neville's teachings so enduring and universal? Perhaps it is the simplicity and depth of his ideas, which appeal to the fundamental human desire to understand and shape one's own destiny. Or perhaps it is the ongoing proof that, regardless of circumstances, imagination truly has the power to create reality. And now, what is the secret of God that Neville Goddard discovered? This secret, which permeates all his teachings, is at once simple and profoundly transformative. For Neville, the secret of God lies in the affirmation that God is our own wonderful human imagination. He believed that each of us possesses within us the divine power to create and transform reality. This internal divinity, our imagination, is the source of all creation. In other words, we are co-creators of our lives and the world around us. Neville based this revelation on various biblical passages, interpreting them in an unconventional way. He saw the stories and characters of the Bible as allegories for states of mind and aspects of human experience. For example, he interpreted the phrase "I am," often used in the Bible to refer to God, as a recognition of the power of consciousness and imagination. When we say "I am," we are declaring our own divinity and creative power. For Neville, everything we experience in the physical world is a projection of our mind. Our thoughts, feelings, and imaginations shape the external reality. Therefore, by consciously taking control of our imagination, we can transform our lives according to our deepest desires. This is the secret of God, the realization that we are divine in essence, endowed with the power to create through imagination.